Hello there, YouTube. It's back. I'm back. It is currently the end of my day, and it's Monday, the 11th of September. I'm on my way home, and I've had a very simple day and quite an interesting day. And I want to tell you about what I've done today, and then talk a bit about something that's important to me that I think I'd like to share with you all. But let's start off with what happened today. So I had already got a job booked in from Friday, and that was with a shipper that I've done a bit of work with before, and they know me, and as long as I put in a bid that is reasonable, I tend to get the jobs from them. And it was going from Boston to Darwin near Blackburn. It was an 8:30 pickup, and I bid £175. The job was on the SIX system 171 miles, and it was for on the wrong one, sorry. It was for 157 miles, sorry, and that one was for a medium wheelbase. This is a shipper that I do quite a bit of work for if I'm in the area and it's local to me, and I would argue, not to their face obviously, but I would make the argument that this is actually a long wheelbase job. But technically, yeah, no, I think it would be, because it says on medium wheelbase jobs, if you're not sure, is up to 3 meters, and I took 3 pallets today. And I'm pretty certain that if I didn't have my extra 0.4 meters, that they wouldn't fit on. So I genuinely think that these jobs that I do are long wheelbase jobs. When they loaded the pallets, I think they're 120 by 1 meter size pallets, and they loaded on my side door, sort of across the van. So the length of the pallet was across my length of the van, and they loaded the other 2 lengthways along the van. So I only had about 15 centimeters, 20 centimeters spare. So definitely it took up more than 3 meters in my van. If you were to turn the pallets round, I think you probably could get them in, just about. But anyway, that's a side issue. I kind of bid the same price as I would do if it's a long wheelbase as to what they as a medium wheelbase. So I picked up those 3 pallets this morning. I got there at 8:15, a quarter of an hour earlier, and they were ready for me. They're usually pretty good when I get there, so they loaded me on. They're really cheerful, really good place to collect from, in my opinion. The forklift guy said, for example, "How was your weekend?" Now, that doesn't usually happen when you get a forklift guy. Now, I don't want to answer that question, and so my answer was, I did some paperwork, which wasn't what he was expecting, because that's genuinely what I did this weekend. But, that sort of small talk I'm not really good at, but at least he took an interest. I suppose I should have said something like, "I had a great time. What did you do?" But I didn't do that. I wanted to get out of it as soon as possible. But he was a really nice guy anyway. So I took that to Darwin. It was about 3.5 hours according to my Google Maps. I gave myself 45 minutes extra just to have a couple of breaks. Well, have a break, get to the toilet and stuff. So that was didn't have to rush. I got to my drop-off place, and the guy with the forklift was really friendly as well. I signed a form for him to say I'd arrived, his paperwork, and then he took off my 3 pallets, and was very, very friendly. And then I I parked right outside that drop-off place and was looking for jobs. And I was reasonably hopeful I'd get something, because sort of Darwin, Blackburn, Bolton, that's close to Preston area, or PR area. There's Manchester, there's a few jobs from Oldham, There was some jobs coming up from Huddersfield and Sheffield way. So I bid on probably about 20 jobs, starting off with the ones that are really close, sort of within 15 minutes, and then branching out further and further afield. But I kept bidding at what I would call decent rates, so nothing less than £1 a mile. I was including the mileage to get there. Some of them were sort of an hour away towards the end of those 20 bids, and I wasn't getting anything, but I still felt reasonably confident that I would get something, because it's a busy area, and even if it's only a small job. So some of the jobs were like 10 miles loaded, but I was sort of 25 miles away. So if I put a minimum price on £50 for these, are also a lot of long wheelbase jobs as well, not all small van jobs. So if it's a £50 job and it's 25 miles away and only going 5 or 10 miles, it makes sense from everyone's point of view. I get the money I want, and the shipper gets what they want. You know, a reasonably priced job for a long wheelbase job, reasonable price for that. I didn't get any joy. A job came up that was about 35 minutes from me. It was sort of Preston area, Southport maybe, I can't remember. But it's going to Edinburgh, and it was 193 miles. I didn't really want to go up to Edinburgh, but I thought if I put a decent bid on, I'll do it. So I thought £1 a mile was 190 odd pounds, 20 odd miles to get there, so I had another £20 on. So I rounded it up to £230. So I'll bid £230 and see what I get on. So I stuck the bid on and got a call almost immediately, and I was quite surprised about that. Now, it was with a shipper that they're currently late on a payment for. And so when they rang, I was a little bit reluctant to take their job, because I had that sitting in the back of my head. But there was something else. There was just something about the call. I accepted it, but I just didn't feel like it was right. I put it down to go up to Edinburgh, and I perhaps wanted to get home today. So I put the phone down, having accepted the job, and then I had a look at it, and just to read the notes. Because the thing about this job, I find, is that the notes that you get when you accept the booking are different to the notes that you see when you're bidding, because you can't see all the notes. Only rarely do you get a chance to have the option where you can accept or decline. Usually, if they've called you, they'll put the job through. And obviously, if they've called you, you've got the opportunity to ask further questions, which I don't always remember to do. But he got me off quite quickly. All he asked me was, how far away am I? I said 35 minutes. That's what he said. That's great. I'll put it on. And then when I checked the notes, there's nothing untoward until I realised what I bid. I actually bid 130, and I realised, that's ridiculous. I've made a mistake there. So I immediately called them back and tried to get hold of the guy who'd spoke to, and he was busy. So I spoke to another guy and just said, I'm sorry, I've bid the wrong amount. I bid 130 when it should have been 230. There's no way I can do it for that amount of money. And fair play to him, the guy I spoke to, he just said, I'll cancel it then straight away. He didn't make a fuss, he didn't complain, he didn't threaten bad feedback. He just cancelled it. I think he realised that it was a genuine mistake, because who's going to bid £130 to go 197 miles? And a lot of you are shouting, loads of people will. And I think you're right, some people would, but I wouldn't. I worked it out at 67p a mile for let me just check what kind of van it was. I think it's a small van, to double check. So I've still got it on my system as a council job. 192 miles, and it was for a short wheelbase. So I'm sure somebody would do it for that price, but I'm not. So I was very thankful that they cancelled that, and I kept looking for another job. And I was getting to the point where I thought I might move, go somewhere else, or I might go for a walk, or I might change the pricing strategy, or think about going home. I even priced up what would it cost me if I just went straight home, and I ended up making £112 after fuel. I thought that's not worth it. And then a job came up from Darwin, that's where I was, to Corby, which is not where I live, but it's pretty close to where I live. And I thought that'd be a great job, get me home, brought it straight away. It was a 3 o'clock pickup, and this had come up about about 20 past 1. So it's a bit early. So I stuck in, it's 171 miles. It's for a small van, and I bid £150, so less than £1 a mile. But I felt that was a fair amount for that, because I wanted to get home really. And I got the job. It took took about 5 minutes, and then I got a call, and they offered me the job. And I did ask them, because it was, yes, I forgot to mention something. Because it was a delivery tomorrow morning, 8:30 tomorrow morning, I did say to the guy when he rang me, is it okay, because of delivery tomorrow morning, that I find a co-load as long as the delivery was on time? And he said he couldn't offer me the job if I was going to co-load it. So I said, that's fine. I'm just asking to check. I'll still do the job, and I won't bother looking for a co-load. So he gave me the job, and I knew that I couldn't do a co-loading with this one, so I had to get this delivered. So I made my way straight across. I was only about 10 minutes away from the pickup point, and I got there about half an hour earlier. So it's 3 o'clock. Got there about 2:30, and just said to them, I'm a bit early. I'm just hearing for when you're ready. Let me know. And they said, we've just literally finished it, so we're ready to pack it up now. And they showed me it's outside, already packaged up on a pallet. So they weren't even doing it. They did it sort of a few minutes before I arrived. So great. I'm really pleased I went a bit early, because it's half an hour I saved in my day for doing that. They got me loaded, one pallet, one item, got it strapped up. I used 2 straps this time to be extravagant, just to make sure it didn't move. I definitely feel I'm getting better at strapping things now, having had a bit of experience, and I definitely feel where I can, I'd like to put a couple of straps on when I've got space to. And then I made my way towards Corby, and there was, in this particular case, a phone number for the person I was delivering to. It was a mobile number as well. So I gave that number a courtesy call, and I said, I'm on my way to you now with your delivery. I'm going to be with you in the morning. It says 8:30. Is that the right sort of time for you? And he said, well, we're open 24 hours. So anytime. So I chanced my arm, and I said, well, in that case, can I deliver it tonight on my way back? And he said he wouldn't be there, but if I could get on the site, he was happy for me to do that. So I thought, oh, there's a chance here that I might get a win out of this. I'd priced up the job, assuming that I was going to go home and then come back in the morning to drop it off. So in terms of mileage, but I have to go past Corby to get from Darwin past Corby to get home. So ideally, if I could drop it off on the way past, then that would save me a bit of miles and a lot of time. So I did. So about 5 minutes later, the shipper called me about something else, just to confirm something else. And I said to them, I've just spoken to the customer. They think they're fine for me to deliver it tonight if I can. Are you okay if I do that? And the lady on the phone said, I'll get back to you and just check with my boss effectively. So she went back, called me back and said, that's fine. If you can get on site and get it loaded, as long as the customer's happy with it, we're okay with it. So everyone was happy with me doing that. Just had to really get to the right site and make sure there's someone there to offload me. The thing I was worried about was, would there be a forklift driver available, because the pallet was too heavy for me to carry. So I was in the lap of the gods when it came to that, but at least I had an opportunity to go for. So I made my way from Darwin to Corby, got there at 6, got to the security gate, and I put on my nicest smile. And I asked, I wasn't quite sure I was in the right place because it wasn't labelled up. So I asked the security guard, I'm looking for this place. Do you know where it is? And he said, it's here, but you're too late. And so I was basically at this point in his hands completely. So I just said, oh, that's a shame. And then he kind of said, well, I'll try and ring someone just to check. And so I didn't stop him, obviously, so I let him do that. And he was on the phone. He was saying, someone here to offload. I know you're closed. And the person you're speaking to was I didn't hear what they were saying, but from the half the conversation I heard, the security guard was kind of ringing someone thinking they would say no. The other guy in the other room was saying, yeah, let him on board, we'll offload it. So really, the guy that offloaded me, which I'll tell you about in a moment, was the one that really helped me. The security guard was also helping me by making the call. The security guard could have just said, go away, come back tomorrow. But I was really thankful that he at least asked the question. But whoever he asked, as a manager on site, they said it was fine. So when I sensed that might be happening, the excitement inside me was so interesting, so nice. I was like, this could happen. This could be a win. This could be a win. I was keeping my straight face. I'll just be very polite. And then he went to the security guard, went to his hut, came back with his paperwork, which I filled out. And then he told me how to get to the right place. And I made sure I was very clear, because it's a one-way system, about where I was going. And I thanked him. Really, I said, thank you very much for letting me on. And then I went on to the site. And I wasn't quite sure whether I was going to get to the right place, because it was a building. Basically, it's a building site. They're building like a massive warehouse, or industrial unit of some sort. So I went round, and I just hoped there'd be someone at the other end that would recognise me. As I came around this massive building, right to the other side, there was a guy getting into I can describe it as a digger, but it had forklifts on it. It wasn't a forklift, a classic forklift. It was a massive, digger size thing. And I thought that might be the guy for me, but it might not be. So I parked up in the middle of this empty area, and I kind of gestured to this guy, and he, is that for me? And he said yes. And so he came and unloaded me, and I was so thankful. His name is Adam. So it's highly unlikely that you're going to be watching this video, Adam, but you have made me extremely happy by getting me offloaded tonight, and you've made me thankful for nice people in the world like you, and the security guard as well, to be fair. So I got offloaded, full of the joys of spring, and then came off site, and now I'm going to go home. But that's it. I've done 2 jobs today, which is not very much for me, really. I'm going to give you my stats based on when I get home, and then I'll give you I'll give you a chat about my thing. So today, when I get home, I will have driven 387 miles, 387. I'm basing the rate of 15.88 pence per mile based on last week's rate. So I filled up on yesterday, so I've still got to fill up this week. So at that rate, my fuel cost for today is £61 and 46 pence. I will have done 11 hours and 45 minutes today. It feels like I've done not very much work. I've done 1 trip from Boston to Darwin and 1 trip from Darwin to Corby, and that's my day. But it has been it will be a 12-hour day, more or less. From that, I've earned both CX jobs. The first job I got was £175 for this morning's job, 175. And the second one was £150, 150, coming back. So a total of £325. So take off my fuel. I've earned £264 today after fuel, which is above my target. So maybe there's something in this malarkey, doing 1 job out and 1 job back. Maybe I could do that all the time. Highly unlikely. Yeah, it's highly unlikely, but I look out for it. Right, I think I want to leave that bit there, and I want to spend a little bit of time talking to you a bit about my history, about something that's important to me, I'll just do my usual thing. I'll ramble about it. Hopefully I'll get all the things out that I want to say, and hopefully it makes some sense, and hopefully it will resonate with some of you, and it will maybe inspire some feedback or comments, either positive or negative. I don't really mind, as long as you give me the reason why you think something. So before I tell you about this, I suppose I better preempt it with a caveat, which I always like to do. This is my opinion, my perspective, it's my experience only. You are not me. You will have different opinions and perspectives, and you may not agree with what I'm about to say. It may not be for you, and I'm not trying to say it is for you, because it is for me. Right, it's about talking therapy. So, I am a massive advocate of talking therapy, but I wasn't always like this. Most of my life, I have been independently minded and stubborn, in that if I've got a problem, I will solve that problem, because that's what I'm good at. I'm a problem solver. I'm not good at some things. I'm not good at socializing. I'm not good at creativity, but I am pretty good at problem solving, at least for me. And so when I've had problems in my life, I just, my brain goes into automatic, right, there's a problem, how do I solve it? And I think about an answer, and I think about a solution, and I implement it. Now that's all very well for many things in life, but it doesn't work for everything. And when it came to my weight, for example, which I briefly touched on this morning, that was a problem to be solved, that I wanted to solve by myself. It was my problem, and I would solve it by trying different things until it worked. So it worked. But I found out over 40 years, I suppose I probably first felt overweight about 12 or 13. So let's say over 38 years, I just didn't solve it. I just didn't. It was always a problem for me. And my ex-wife did some therapy for herself. And when she did this, it was hypnotherapy. When she did it, she was a great advocate for it. She thought it was amazing for her, and it really helped her sort of solve some things. And she tried to get me to do it. And I was very resistant. And my attitude was, I'm glad it works for you, but I want to solve my own problems. And this is a problem I can solve by myself. And I must have done that for a good 7 years after she'd done her first therapy. And I had to admit, after 5-7 years, when nothing had changed, that I hadn't solved this problem that I had with my life. So this would have been, I started to see a therapist, and I would say I probably did it around about, I would say 6 years ago. I'm guessing roughly 6 years ago. And this is my experience of talking therapy. So the first time I went to see somebody, I went somewhere local to me, quite close to me, and it was a lady, and she had an office in the town near where I lived, so it wasn't my home or her home. And I paid for 5 sessions up front, because for me, I was committing to 5 sessions of therapy, because I got to the point where I was committing to it. And she was very nice. She would ask me what I wanted to get out of it, and I would tell her. My focus was, I wanted to work out how to lose weight, because there was something blocking me. So when I first went to therapy, it was about trying to kind of get rid of a blocker of my weight loss. And so we had some chats. I would call them chats, really. And I didn't really feel it was quite working for me. And so I learned a couple of things from it. So I did the 5 sessions, but after about 3, I thought, I don't really want to do this anymore. This isn't really what I thought it would be. And I'll tell you what it was. She would, at the end of the session, give me a hug. And I was uncomfortable with that. Not because I like hugs, I love hugs. But it's kind of, I want someone to be a professional and to analyse me, not to be my friend. And for me, hugging is what friends do. And I felt that if I'd hugged her, that would have been inappropriate. But if I'd said to her, "Don't hug me," I would have felt being churlish, and it would have felt awkward. So I just felt that that particular style didn't suit me because I wanted more of a professional approach. That's the first thing. The second thing that I learnt was paying for 5 up front kind of isn't the right thing to do. You have to pay for them one at a time because you need to work out whether the therapist is right for you, and you can't just commit yourself to 5 sessions because it is quite a lot of money. I think I was paying something like £40, £50 at the time per session. And there were 50-minute sessions. And so I think if I was doing it again, wouldn't pay a lump sum up front. I'd do it each time because you want the chance to say this is not working for me and go out and leave it. And she did say, at the start, if it doesn't work, just let me know. But I didn't find it easy to say it's not working for me. I wanted it to work. So we had some talk. I didn't really get anywhere, and I realised that I was just kind of wasting my money doing that. But I didn't think it was the wrong thing to do. I just thought it's the wrong therapist for me. And it's nothing against the therapist. What I would say is you have to find the right person for you. And there are as many different therapists as there are different people. So for some people, she'd have been a perfect therapist, and is very, very, very good at her job. I'm not trying to criticise her for that, but just not right for me. So I left it for a bit, probably about 6 months, and I thought I thought there's something in this therapy business, but I need to find someone else. So I went to somebody else, and it was it was a different. I think it was in her home. Can't remember, to be honest. Can't remember. But I only did 3 sessions, and I didn't find that it worked for me. But because I'd had the first experience, I immediately knew sooner, this isn't working for me. I can't keep on doing this. This is not the right person for me. And so after about 3 sessions, I said, this is not working for me, and I'm going to try something else. So I tried 2 therapists, and neither had worked for me, and not because there was anything wrong with them, just weren't right for me. And then I kind of bit the bullet, and I went to the same therapist that my wife had used because she was raving about her, and she did hypnotherapy. I was doing cognitive behavioural therapy, CBT, with the first 2 therapists. So I thought I would try hypnotherapy. And I went to this lady who'd seen my ex-wife, and it was in her house. I remember feeling very nervous about going to someone's house, sort of there. And because she knew my ex-wife, and because I suppose the point really is that the therapist that my wife has spoken to, she would have spoken about me in that therapy at various points. So I would have been part of the conversation at some point. So the therapist had some idea about what I was like before I even arrived. And I ended up trying hypnotherapy. Now, I didn't get on very well with hypnotherapy because it requires you to really relax and listen to the therapist sort of getting you relaxed, and you get to a certain state. Best way I can describe it is like a dream-like state where you are kind of half awake and half asleep. It's where your subconscious comes to the forefront. If you imagine dreams, when you're dreaming, that's your subconscious. And if you remember your dreams in the morning when you're awake, you can remember what your subconscious was telling you. So the hypnotherapy is a way of kind of making your subconscious come to the fore. And I found it really difficult to get to that state of relaxation where I could really do it. But I did, on a couple of occasions, get to a point where my subconscious was telling me stuff. Now, I'm not going to tell you what happened because I think that's not relevant. All I can say is, despite the difficulties of me getting under enough to access my subconscious, I did it enough I think it was 10 sessions I did with her. I did it enough to realise there's something in that. there's something in my subconscious that needs to be released and listened to. And after about 10 sessions, I sort of exhausted this particular session, this particular period of trying it out, and I said that I'd bring it to a close. But my very last moment of my very last session, I had this really interesting breakthrough, which kind of re-cemented in my head that there's something really important going on subconsciously, and that hypnotherapy was a way of getting it out. So I'd already agreed that I would stop going for a bit. I want to just go back and tell you why was she the right therapist for me. So we had about 6 or 7 sessions where nothing much happened, and in one of the sessions she kind of confronted me in a therapeutic way, and it was almost kind of cross with me, but she wasn't cross with me, but she almost kind of told me off for not relaxing. It's not quite like, I don't want to tell you off is the wrong word to say it. She forced out of me an admission that I wasn't letting her do her job because I was being resistant to it. And when I realised what she did, so it upset me, but then I realised, oh, I'm blocking this process even. Although I'm coming here and paying money, I'm not really releasing properly my mind to it. And so she kind of had the wherewithal and she had the expertise to kind of see through my blocking strategies, which were not conscious, but there were subconscious strategies to stop this person getting into my head. And then once she did that, and then I got a bit of breakthrough about getting some useful content out of the sessions. So for me, I needed someone to be, I'm going to use the word professional, like to know what they're doing, to see where I'm blocking, and to kind of call me out, call my subconscious out. And the first 2 therapists I had, I don't think were going to be able to do that for maybe ever, but maybe it would take ages. But this therapist went through the routines that she would do with most people, tried different things, tried different tactics, and eventually came to the conclusion correctly that I was blocking, and therefore worked out a way of getting through that. So I have a load of respect for her before actually getting through to me in the end. And once I had that breakthrough, I realised how important the subconscious is and how damaging it can be, and how I'd gone decades and years A, ignoring therapy, B, dismissing therapy, C, even when I tried therapy, not really allowing it to work. And only now had I got to the point where I'd allowed therapy into my head, and it was so liberating to think, oh, I now know there's a solution out there that's not a problem-solving solution I can do with my head. My head is the problem. And I stopped doing the therapy and got on with my life. But I sort of had that sort of step forward understanding. And then I got to 50, and I then had a period of about 8 or 9 months where I was brilliant with my weight loss, and I lost about 8 stone. And my life was perfect. I was happy. I created my mission statement. I knew what my personal values were. I understood who I was. I understood how I could communicate with people better. I understood my deficiencies. Towards the end of that time, I began to understand I had autistic traits, which helped me understand myself. So for the first time in my life, as a result of some of the therapy years ago, I got to a point where I really felt I was in control and happy with my brain, and my brain is so important to me. Now, I'm saying that to you because it's really important to me, and it's something I want to do more of. I'm going to do more therapy. I'm at the point now where I'm almost going to do some more therapy because I want to explore deeper these issues in my brain. But I wish I'd done this when I was 30. or 25, because I've lived, I lived more of my life. Most of my life is over, and I can't change it now. And I've got some time left, but it's limited. And I want to utilize this way of looking at myself and the world in the future, which is going to be really, it's good. It's good. It's a good life to have. My previous 50 years, before I had this mindset, was crap. I made so many mistakes, classic mistakes that middle-aged men of my age probably make. Work-related, family-related, relationships-related. But I can't change that now. But looking forward, because of the therapy, partly because of therapy, but I want to say, let me clarify that. The therapy is like the key that opened the lock to a whole new way of looking at the world. I can now explore that world with my own mindset. My problem solving works in this world, but I've still got to have an eye on someone else to help me. I need a therapist to help me problem solve as well as my own problem solving. So without that, unlocking that key, that therapy, that lock with the therapy, I would have had a whole load of life experiences blocked off. I wouldn't be doing YouTube videos if I hadn't seen a therapist. I wouldn't have lost the weight. I wouldn't have met a brilliant lady that I'm now with. I wouldn't have recognised about my autistic traits and how to deal with it without therapy. That in itself didn't lead to that directly, but it helped me really expand my horizons and understand myself better. And I suppose I want to finish off this by saying, and this is my opinion, so you're welcome to disagree with it if you want to, but in my opinion, my parents' generation and my grandparents' generation, they didn't even have a clue about talking therapies. It wasn't on their radar. For my generation, sort of born in the 70s, early 80s, therapy has become, over that time, more and more important, more and more valued, more and more understood. And so I don't completely blame myself, because it wasn't a societal thing, 20, 30 years ago. But for my children's generation, I'm so pleased that they are mindful and they are liberal and kind and they are open to different people and open to therapy and different ways of living. And I have loads of hope and admiration for, I suppose, Generation Z. They are the generation that can really utilise talking therapies to the benefit. They can get therapy in their teenage years, in their early 20s, and solve these things before having to live the rest of their life living with this stuff. So I think that it's not too late for my generation, and I'm aware that quite a lot of you are my generation. And for those of you who are thinking, I can't give therapy any time at all, that's what I used to think like. And I gave it a bit of time and it's changed my life. And I'm not saying that it's right for you, because it might not be, but it might be. If you don't try it, you're not going to know. If you do try it, don't just go for the first therapist and then give up, because you have to find the right therapist. And yeah, so it's something that's really helped me. And there was something else I wanted to say about it. I can't remember. Something else about the young generation that I don't know, can't remember. My memory's so bad. But anyway, so it's just a general discussion really about my views on talking therapies and the benefits of talking therapies, and that generationally understanding nowadays is so much different than it used to be, and I'm so pleased about that. It's so good that we have moved on, at least in this country, to embracing talking therapies a bit more than we used to. Right, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time, your continued attention. I'm going to go home, hug my beautiful partner. In another video, I might tell you about why or how I've ended up having an ex-wife and a current partner, but that's for another video. Yeah, what have you learnt today?